Hi guys, I will briefly introduce Selector NINJA, a Photoshop extension I developed to interact with the luminosity mask in a user-friendly way. So let's start with that gradient for demonstration purposes. So this is Selector NINJA with the interface where I have to choose to build a map with which kind of map we are like to use. So an HSB use saturation brightness map or an HSL use saturation lightness map. Normally for exposure blending, HSL gives the best results. Then you have the panel is divided in three other node selector, node node selector, where you drag and drop your nodes around to select things, hue, saturation or brightness, and you can then load the map as a selection for painting purposes, or add 5 adjustment layer where a raster mask will be automatically applied with the map you have generated, or with the last button simply add the mask, the current map to the selected layer. So let's start with this. We can hide the text so it doesn't get confused in the map. Build the map in HSL, use saturation lightness, and we can resume the texture, and we can see like with the preset buttons you can select the colors, the hue in this case, the yellow, the green. You can also intersect the maps with themselves, so if you select the hue you can choose if you want the low saturation or the high saturation selected of this hue. With the reset button you can reset the nodes. Maybe I show you a little trick. If you double click the reset button on every one of these you'll get to reset everything. So double click, all is reset, and the map will be resetted as well. Then there is the persistent checkbox. When is selected, your selection, your node selection and node exact selection will be persistent even if you close the extension. You can close and open, add new nodes, drag and drop them around, and the node's layout will remain there. If you uncheck the persistent checkbox and you close and reopen, everything is reset. No worry, you can still use your previous map created. It will understand, the extension will understand based on if there is or not the Selector NINJA group with the layers, and then you can restart selecting things around. So if you select the lights, for example, all the highlights will be selected. You can manipulate them further to take, hey, okay, I go from midtones to lights, exclude everything from midtone down to shadows, and reset. Okay, I can show you briefly how to use this for merging exposure. I have an image here. It's taken in Lake Mulveno. It's a dried out lake. It's a really cool scenario. So we can develop this base exposure here. We can take a look for maybe if we reset, we see that we have some clipping going on. So I raised the blacks a little bit to exclude the clipping. I normally don't use sharpening, input sharpening on raw, directly on raw. It's rarely the case. I usually do it at the end of the post-processing to have more control over it. So you can duplicate this now and develop the row again for the highlights, and duplicate another ones for the shadows. So we can start by developing for the highlights. Obviously we want a little bit less exposure to bring out some details in the sky and the clouds. A little bit of clarity, a bit of contrast. Click OK, and now we can develop the shadows one. We add a little more contrast, exposure. I don't worry about the clipping on the highlights because it will be blended out, so no worry about it. A bit of clarity here, so we can now merge the highlights. So before, since when we build the map, upon clicking the button, all the visible layer will be taken into account to build the map. So you hide everything, or hide what you don't need to be computed. In this case, we will only have the base row. So build the map. It doesn't take really much time. And then we can select our highlight layer, select the lights. Let's see, we can tone down a bit the shadows, quite too much, a bit here, and the lights to have more details in here selected, and apply it. We can now, okay, quite cool. Then the same thing we can do with the shadows. We move the nodes around to make the selection. We don't want anything in the lights, so I moved this one to here. If we wanted a bit, we could toggle the snap switch in here, so the node will not snap anymore on the edge, but we will be able to control the density. You can see how we can control the density of the map now. But for starting, normally I do with the snap. Okay, we can apply that to the shadows. Looks nice. A bit too much light in here. I don't know if we can do totally with that, because yes, maybe like this, and toggle the snap, lower the density a bit, and apply it again. Better, but we lost a little bit of contrast in here, but the exposure blended worked nicely. Even on the edge of the mountains, there are no artifacts, all going good. So we can now extract some more details in here, in the foreground, to make it more grungy maybe. So the exposure, we can try to develop another row and to really extract that. Some exposure, maybe not that much, and maybe try using a bit of curves. This is getting in the way. Okay, maybe remove a little bit of noise in the shadows here. So in the luminance, nice, but we can modify the temperature a bit. Okay, nice. And we can now add a mask, fill it with black, select our lights. Maybe the midtones will work better for her, so we can force the density of the midtones. Yes, working better. Too much. We can shift this node around a bit, and we can load this as a selection to find directly on the map. We can then press Ctrl H to hide the selection, and with a brush, with transfer and pressure, okay, opacity 20% should be okay. We can add more contrast here. We can fine tune the image better. Maybe we can raise the opacity a bit. It takes quite a bit of time. So what we are doing here, in the map we are painting with our brush only on the selected areas. Yes, those works. Maybe we can turn it down a little bit on here, and we can add a little bit more in here, on the highlights there, just to make him this thing stand out a little bit more, and on the rocks bring out some of the details here too. Just to point it out and get some more detail. Okay, this is bad. We can work it out here. We can remove it. I'm pointing with black right now, so we can remove all of that. It's not really working good here on the edge. Let's rewatch how it was mapped. Yes, because all the midtones are selected now, so it's not going to work very well on this part, because all the midtones are selected, so this will be totally white and totally visible. So now we can proceed to maybe normalize the saturation on the image, deselect and reset this one. Then we are going to select all the low saturation pixels in the image. Before, I think it's better to rebuild the map based on the editing we already did. So build the map. Map the low saturation only. Okay, the high saturation looks like this. Low saturation, we can drag it around a bit. We are now going to add some vibrance and saturation here, so we can use the corresponding adjustment layer icons. It will automatically be mapped with the map we selected before. So we can now try to map a little bit of vibrance. Okay, the sky, I don't think it really needs to be vibrant. I care more about the foreground, so maybe we can just intersect the shadows and leave the highlights out. Okay, and reapply this mask here. Okay. Then we can try to reinforce a little bit this part of the sky. Reset everything, maybe, yes, select the yellow. And add the curves adjustment layers and try to add some contrast on it. Okay, we can now try to tone a bit the image, like a split toning, so with the lights and the curves we can try to remove some of the blue in the lights and add more blue in the shadows. A little bit, but maybe we are better to remove some red and greens. Okay, then we can choose a color blending mode to not interfere with the luminosity. Maybe we can tone it a bit down in the shadows and reapply it better. Yes, a bit better. What else? We can do whatever. We can really do a lot of things, but since this was a video to demonstrate the basic use of Selector NINJA, its interface, I think I stopped it here. Bye guys.